Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to see you and see you in person and online. And so we will get ready to start this October 26th Regional Advisory Council meeting. Madam Chair, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We do have a quorum. While we don't have any action items, we do have a quorum, and we are ready to get started. So I'll hand it off to you.
Good thing he told me to turn it on because I was coughing. Welcome from me also. Pleased to see us here. And those of you online, thank you for taking time to participate. I'm Marilyn Massey, and I'm chair of the Regional Advisory Council. And if you would introduce yourselves. Microphone.
Debbie Levin-Stankiewicz, vice chair of the Advisory Council.
B. Babbitt, past chair of the RAC.
And then we'll get to you all here in just a minute. We'll do board members first, and then we'll introduce your whole crew right before your presentation. So bear with us as we get through the procedures here. You introduce yourself. And I'm Jody Barker, director of the Area Agency on Aging. And then we'll ask Jared, would you call out members online?
I'll be happy to. Yep. So let's start first with Eric.
Good morning, everyone. Eric Bidwell with the Department of Human Services. My camera seems to be not working this morning, so.
Not a problem. Councilmember Cron.
I am here.
Good morning, Maria Cordova.
Good morning, Maria Cordova. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator at the Independence Center, and we cover Park, Teller, and El Paso counties.
Thank you. And Rosemary Jaramillo.
Good morning, Rosemary Jaramillo with the Alzheimer's Association.
Thank you. And then we did have Jen Nemo join briefly, and then she jumped back off, so she might join back in a few moments. But those are all the RAC members who I see online.
Thank you, Jared. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
I'll approve the minutes. The
Thank
last
you.
meeting.
Second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. The motion is carried.
I believe we need to vote to carry the motion.
Good point. All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
We are now going to approve today's agenda, and if you will consider it, and then make a motion to accept the agenda for today. Okay.
I'll vote yes. Okay.
Make a motion.
I'll vote yes.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Thank you. Motion is carried.
We need to vote.
Please vote. All in favor? Raise your hand. Say aye.
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 Thank you, everyone. And I have not received any requests for public comments. Jared, have we had anything come on?
So, Judy, I'll ask that anyone who's online who's not a RAC member to please use the raise hand function to indicate that you would like to make a public comment. While we're waiting for anyone to look for the raise hand feature, I will just let you know that I did not receive any requests for public comment and did not receive any written submitted public comment before this meeting that we would have distributed to the RAC members in advance. I do see Melody Hannah with her hand raised, though.
All right. Please go ahead, Melody.
Hi, good morning. I just needed to know who motioned to approve the minutes.
The minutes were
record.
Certainly the minutes were the motion was by Debbie, second by B.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I don't see any other hands raised. So I think we're good to proceed at your discretion.
Thank you.
Action items?
We have no action items this meeting, Madam Chair.
Well, then we have some presentation by
Yes,
some.
we can move right into our presentation. 6A is our presentations by Pearls of Colorado. For those of you at the table, they are pretty sensitive. The mics are pretty sensitive, so you can see about 6 or 7 inches away, just normal talking voice, and then press the button when it's your turn. So Cynthia, as director of the Pearls Program of Colorado, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you introduce your team and get started with the presentation.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm glad you can be here. I'm glad there's not a lot going on because maybe we'll have a little more time to chat. I'd like to start at the far end of it for introductions. We have Roberta. She works with me and they'll be sharing information, but she works with me on the Post Pearls program. Then we have Vicky or Victoria. She is one of our coaches. She works in the Teller County area. Then I'll skip Amanda for a moment. We have Carrie. Carrie and I are the coaches for El Paso County. And this is Dr. Dave, and he is our psychologist. And then I want to go back to Amanda. Amanda is our incoming new director. So next year, she'll be in charge of this part of the program, and I'll be relieved of that duty if I can help it. And she's going to help me back out, I hope, in any case. So several of us have parts that we're going to be doing, and we'll turn on our mics at that time. To start, we're the Pearls Program of Colorado. We are the first Pearls program in Colorado. Recently, I went to Denver and I trained Dr. Cog, that is our area agency on aging, that they are now offering a Pearls program, and they will be the second as an evidence-based program. This, we are again evidence-based, and we will be doing several things today. Next slide, please. So pearls doesn't mean the necklace, everybody. It means program encouraging active, rewarding lives for seniors. There are most of the states, about 30, maybe more at this point, that have registered as a Pearls program. It was a research study done by the University of Washington about 15 years ago. Next slide, please. This is a short description of what our program is about and has a client, not one of ours, that has gone through the program. Can you start this? It did work earlier. Let's try again.
Shall we skip that for the moment and let you keep moving along? Okay.
Okay, life happens. That's part of Pearls. Life happens. So
Yes, I want to, I was going to say, turn your attention
you to the next slide, but there we go. So I know that the people in this meeting are very aware of the needs of older adults, and what you have in front of you at the moment is a slide that indicates, can you hear me well enough? Okay. That indicates the percentage of Americans 65 and over who are affected by symptoms of depression, not necessarily diagnosed with it, but experience symptoms of depression. The next slide indicates scores on two widely used measures of both anxiety and depression, one of which, the depression one, is the PHQ-9. Many of you are familiar with that, even from your primary care provider. And it indicates how frequently older adults experience some of the symptoms of anxiety and depression compared to adults who are younger. And in that slide, what you have there are questions that appear on both the questionnaire assessing anxiety symptoms, the first two about feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge. You can see that over 60% of older adults are wrestling with that. Close to 50% have difficulty controlling or stopping their worrying about various things. The last two graphs there are about depression, and over half endorsed feeling little interest or enjoyment in doing things. And then the final one is feeling down, depressed, or hopeless. Again, nearly half. So the point, I think, in all these statistics is to say, yes, a program like Pearls is needed. Pearls is a relevant and effective response to the distress that older adults are frequently experiencing. So let me have us look at the next slide.
That's this one.
Oh, this one? Okay.
Sorry.
All right. The point of Pearls is to help people before they reach the point where they have a diagnosable mental disorder, such as major depressive disorder. It's to intervene earlier in order to reduce the symptoms and teach individuals skills and coping strategies that help them live more active, rewarding lives. And so what we have in this next slide here is a description of how Pearls coaches will interact with individuals. And you can see one of the things that's important is that they just have a chance to vent. They have a chance to express themselves, whatever the distress is. Pearls is, of course, a mellow approach. It's honest, but it's intended to be non-threatening and non-confrontational. It's really walking alongside of individuals. The next check mark there is about tools. We all need tools. We all need skills, strategies for living effectively and as fully as we can. And the Pearls coaches are able to introduce specific skills to people. And the next one references that as well. It's intended not simply to relieve the distress in the moment, but in the ongoing life of the individual, so that they can carry this forward and integrate it into their life long term. The services are delivered where the individual is living. Often it's in their home. Sometimes it's in an assisted living facility or some other place, a family member's home. It is a team approach. There are different
elements of the team, different members of the team. Cynthia's already talked about the Pearls coach. Really, the word coach is probably more appropriate because they're not offering clinical counseling. But as a psychologist, I'm one of the clinical supervisors, and we do have a monthly supervision meeting where we review new clients as well as clients who might be presenting more challenging situations where the team can offer some perspective and advice on that. We also have a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, and she oversees questions regarding medication. Of course, we all know older and it's helpful to have a specialist who is familiar with these and the potential problems that might arise from them. So it's really helpful to have Molly, who is our psychiatric nurse practitioner and a former work colleague of mine. So again, what you have there with Pearls is efforts to reduce the immediate distress, but also to help promote long-term well-being. So as you can see, it's applicable to a wide range of people, those who are going through loss and grief, those who are providing care for older adults, particularly those who might be wrestling with the multiple issues involved with caring for someone with dementia or a chronic illness of one kind or another, possibly epilepsy, chronic illness. Example would be multiple sclerosis. So all of that's a way of saying it's a very much needed and a very relevant and a very effective approach to addressing these needs in older adults.
Next slide, please. So what is Pearls? We use a program where we put together, because there was evidence-based, there are 3 parts that are very important to help people who are depressed. Can you hear me? I'm sorry, I'm far away from the mic. Those 3 parts really are to encourage people to be physically active, to socialize, and also to do things that give them joy. People who are depressed stop. They do not do those things. And so in a way, we are cheerleaders of those things. And everybody is different. One client, physical activity, it's easiest to describe to y'all. Physical activity for one person might be going to the mailbox once a week. That's it. For another person, it might be going to ARC and go window shopping. What gives them that physical activity where they're moving around? And then there's also the social activity. When you're depressed, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but we stop answering the phone. We stop talking to our friends. And so we really encourage people to reconnect with the people that are involved in their lives. And then pleasant activities, that's sort of like doing your hobbies, the things that give you joy, things you can do on your own. And these 3 things can be combined. If you love going for a walk, go with a friend. Those kinds of things. So that's really what it boils down to. These elements are all put together by a coach that comes to their home. It can bring life and hope to people that may have given up. That's what we're all about. We want them to not give up. Next slide, please. So this shows you the pleasant social and exercise activities. We want to focus on what would give them help. We work with problems A lot of folks who are depressed, part of their depression is dealing with a problem or multiple problems, and they don't have an idea how to solve it. Sometimes it's like there's only one way to solve this problem, and it's not a healthy way. And our job is to help them find various pros and cons of different kinds of things that could be helpful to them. Next slide, please. So today, we try and change this up so you don't see the same thing every year. Today, we're going to focus on 3 parts of what the program does. Carrie's going to talk to you about working with someone who's experiencing depression. I'm going to talk to you about working with families that have a loved one with dementia. And then if Roberta can be here long enough because she has a previous appointment, she's going to talk about the post-pearls program. Next slide, please.
So just briefly, not quite so briefly, this slide and the next slide that I'm going to present to you are rather dense, and that is on purpose so that you can take this with you and you don't have to take a lot of notes during these couple of slides. But this slide and the next one explain the core of how Pearls works. So ideally and typically Pearls is an 8-session home visit program over about 6 months. Initially, the sessions are weekly, and then they stretch out to biweekly, and then tri-weekly, and finally monthly. And that's always flexible based upon the needs of the participant. So medical appointments get in the way, grandchildren visiting from out of town get in the way. I expect coming up in a month or two, we might have some road conditions that get in the way. I'm working with a lovely woman out in Black Forest, and it's from my house, which is not far from here. It's a 54-mile round trip to go see her. So when the roads are bad, that's going to get in the way of scheduling. The initial session focuses on everything that we do in the subsequent session, but also includes data gathering. So we, as Dave was mentioning before, we gather information about medications to make sure the nurse practitioner can review those. And we have a good grip on how depression and medication are interacting for this individual. And then, of course, we gather the important demographic information that has to be reported to the Area Agency on Aging and subsequently to the State Unit on Aging. And then initially and subsequently in all the visits, we listen to the participant. Often in that first visit, it feels very much like a data dump or a lot of storytelling. You may be the first person who is sitting with them and just listening for a long time. And so those sessions can go 2 to 2.5 hours sometimes if someone just has a lot that they have to share, especially if they get emotional. It can really be important to be present and in the moment and just let it unfold organically. And during that time, as a coach, I'm sitting there and I'm just sort of on the problem list that is a form provided by the Pearls program in University of Washington. I'm writing down things that I'm hearing them say about what are some of the challenges they have. And the premise behind Pearls is that depression comes from problems that are unsolved. And so the idea is that we will solve them together if we can. And therefore, we move on to the problem-solving treatment, which I'll go into more detail on the next page. It is in the form of a very structured worksheet, which all of these things the Pearls participant can view and has copies of to keep for themselves. So there's no mystery, and it really is a coaching relationship where they are being guided and supported, but making the decisions themselves. And then lastly, to Dave's point earlier, that patient health questionnaire, the PHQ-9, cleverly because it has 9 questions, is something that we administer at every single appointment, every single session, and it asks things that are related to depression. So sleep patterns, eating patterns, feelings of self-worth, fatigue, observations of others who may have made comments to the participant about, boy, you really seem to have slowed down. That's literally a question on the PHQ-9, and there is one question about self-harm as well, so that if somebody is really severely depressed, we have an opportunity to initiate some kind of an intervention. And then all the subsequent sessions include continuing to listen to them, maybe add to the problem list as you go along, and work through that problem solving treatment. And again, completing the PHQ-9, and then we track that progress on a separate sheet, which I do show to folks after we've met for a few times so that they can literally see their score for the PHQ-9 go down as we work together. It's really pretty impressive. Next slide, please. So in the problem solving treatment, which is the worksheet that we use with the Pearls program, again, it operates on the premise that the problems come or cause depression because they are unsolved. And so the way the worksheet works is we select a problem off of the problem list, and then we identify a goal to address the problem. And then we help to think of possible solutions that lead to the goal. So we're really just sort of parsing step by step and taking smaller and smaller bites so that something that might be overwhelming, such as I have lost the ability to drive, so my problem is I can't leave the home by myself. So the goal might be to obtain transportation services. And then what are some of the solutions? Well, maybe you have to fill out paperwork. Maybe you just need to make a phone call. Maybe you've got a neighbor who can help you go to the grocery store once a week. And we map those all out. And then we discuss the pros and the cons of each one of those possible solutions. And then the participant picks just one to work on for the next session. Taking tinier and tinier bites, we map out the steps. Also ask them to predict with some, just throw caution to the wind. What do you think your chances of success are? And they literally choose a number between 1 and 10, which, sometimes people surprise themselves. It's really quite something to see the surprise on somebody's face when they realize that, hey, I think this is like a 7. I think I might be able to pull this off. And I'm sure that is something that comes as a huge relief as well. And then lastly, back to Cynthia's point, those physical and social and pleasant activities, those almost seem like an afterthought the way they are presented in the session and also on the form, but they're really at the core of what helps people address their depression. And, you can imagine the social and the physical ones are pretty straightforward. The pleasant activities, I have had everything from people saying they want to watch Jeopardy to I have one participant who loves crab legs and she watches the price of crab legs at the King Soopers near her. And then she buys crab legs when they're on sale and she enjoys crab legs. So it's really whatever they make it. And then just to circle back at the beginning of the next session, we review those goals, the solution that they chose, which is almost a distraction, and then the social goal and the physical goal and the goal for the pleasant activity. And remarkably, people are much more successful on those 3 goals, the social, physical, and pleasant, than they are on the actual solution. But that's also reflected in the PHQ-9. As those things are more consistently achieved, that PHQ-9 score tends to go down. Next slide, please.
Hi, so this slide is about dementia and working with people with dementia. I do want to start it out by saying one of the folks we work with, he said to me that the neurologist told him his wife had dementia. Okay, bye. See you in a year. Come back and we'll test you again. And so what we do is we go back to him and we talk with him and we say, you need to find out what kind of dementia it is. There's somewhere between 70 and 100 different dementias. Currently, I'm working with a gentleman whose wife, and please, I cannot pronounce it, so don't ask me how to pronounce it. His wife has a syndrome where it has become a dementia because of lack of proper diet and probably some of alcoholism. It is not the alcohol-related dementia. And so helping him to understand what she needs to do and what he needs to do, we educate and help him understand the dementia, what's going on with that. And then we also encourage the 3 social, physical activities. 6 out of 10 people with dementia, their loved one, their caregiver, will die before they do. Period. It's a fact. So what we want to do is stop that, slow that down, hopefully by helping them to take care of themselves. If you've ever seen someone with dementia, they look great, but the person who's caring for them needs a lot of love and care. When I was caring for my mother, Kent Matthews would always ask me how I was. How are you doing? This is what we do at Pearls. We want to know how they're doing, but we also want to educate them and help them understand. I have another person I'm working with now whose daughter is so angry because she thinks mom should know. Mom should remember my name. Why doesn't she know my name? Well, she doesn't know who you are. You don't exist anymore. And we also work with the Alzheimer's Association. We refer them to some of the support groups. We refer them to classes that they offer. We help them get started with that kind of support as well. It's a very important part of what we have. Unfortunately, and I think Rosemary's on here somewhere, you know, Rosemary has 18 different counties that she and Teal work with. We're picking up some of what they could be able to do if they were able to get more staff. And so working together with them very closely, referring people to the various programs that are supported by all of you. I'm a walking, talking yellow book. My friends tease me about that because I have a lot of the phone numbers for the various programs that our AAA works with on my phone so that I can get them to the right person. For instance, ships. I just know just barely enough to know that you better go to the ship and talk to them when you need insurance, not me. So that's one example. Anyway, next slide, please. So this is an example of one of the clients that we worked with and what she has gone through with her dementia, or her loved one's dementia, I should say. Therapists will tell you there are 2 populations that they cannot be of help to. One is someone who's a narcissist. A narcissist believes the problem is the other person's problem. And then someone with dementia, by the time we get them, they're usually in about the 5th of 7 different stages of the functional assessment tool. And so they are generally past the point where they can remember to do the activities that are asked of them. So that's why we work with their family members. This is one of the people we've worked with. That's not really her picture, and that's not really her name. But really, we went from the dark green of her life in that slide into the lighter colors and where she is now, the caregiver, that is. So she started with the PHQ 912, say that correctly, and now is at the point where she has finished the program and her PHQ 9 is at a 3, which is a big change. So that gives you a little information about one of the clients. Please feel free to take a look at the details. I don't want to spend all day with that.
Hi, good morning. My name is Roberta. I'm a trained facilitator, and I went through the Pearls program. It was very, very helpful for me. Cynthia and I got together and we decided to do that after you go through the Pearls program, there should be something that you can do to continue on with this positive going up, shall I say, an after program. And what we do is we get together and it's a two-part program. It is for relationship building and making new friends, and we do it in a very informal, friendly manner. And it's kind of just kind of builds on itself. And then the second part of that is we continue to fill out the worksheets if it's needed with people. We'll ask if there's an issue that someone's having, and we go through it and we go through all the different questions and everything. And generally we leave with an answer that they can work on. And that's what Post Pearls Connect is.
Thank you, Roberta. So next slide, please. So these are the different agencies at this point where we get referrals. If you know of another agency we can connect with, I would appreciate knowing that. I want to come back to our incoming director, Amanda. Today is her second day. So I have not asked her to do anything, okay, except to be here. But she will be doing a lot of the marketing and working with the staff here at AAA to help create a good relationship with them and getting out there to look for more clientele to be supportive of the program. So you might be hearing from her in the coming weeks. So that's next slide, please. I want to thank our agency here. County. It's been very important and very helpful to a lot of people. And we don't care what state, what area they're in. I go to regular meetings all over these two counties. A lot of mileage for our program. Vicki is a wonderful person working up in the Teller County, taking care of the folks that are there. Carrie and I are both in El Paso County, and it's very useful. And I don't see it anywhere else in any of the other programs where they're willing to go. I mean, I go out to Calhoun. I will go there, and I know that Vicki goes all over Teller County for Vicki. Anyway, next slide, please. So this gives you a picture, not with Amanda yet. She'll be on there next year. Okay. This is a picture of our team. I will introduce them, starting with the gentleman. That's Dr. Dave. Then in the red shirt, that's Vinny. She helps make sure that I behave and enter information correctly for y'all. She's very helpful. Molly with the glasses. She is our nurse practitioner. Then down at the bottom, there's Vicki and Carrie and Roberta, and I'm in the middle. That's me, Cynthia. And then next slide, please. So if you know of someone that might be experiencing some depression or needing some one-on-one education about dementia, please let me know. The best way to reach me would be through a text or an email, which is on this slide. We want to be there for people. Again, at this time, we are in El Paso and Teller County, and we thank all of you for all that you do.
That's a .net, not a comma net, just so we know.
Oh. Thank you all, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Cynthia.
I have a question. So, will these sheets be available through our notes that we have so that we can print them out at home if we would like?
Yes, Jared receives these in advance, and so Melissa's out at a conference conference today, so it might be a couple of days, but we'll make sure that all the members of the RAC get a copy of the slides.
Will they be accessed through the minutes? Is that how we will be able to access them?
Probably
or-
actually just directly email them to you.
Okay,
So
great.
that way you don't
Great.
have to wait for the next months.
Okay, and I have another and I have another question. So I was going to ask about groups and whether you provide any groups, but it seems to me that what you said was that the post care has groups. You don't have any other groups during most of the initial is individual, and then in the post care you have groups that would be available.
Correct. So it's individual one-on-one to start with. It's very important. It gives them an opportunity to say things to us as an individual, where they don't have other people hearing their issues.
Mhm.
And then the post pearls, Roberta had to leave for another appointment. That is where people are all invited to come, make friends. One of the problems that we have as we age, and I'm sure we all know, we lose our friends, we lose our family as they pass away. It's an opportunity to make new friends. And what I have seen is often at the end of the 8 weeks or 8 visits, people are like, I want to be your friend, which is lovely. I take it as a compliment, but the problem is that it's not, they don't fully understand. A friend shares problems, and I don't share my problems at work. And so having them to come to a post pearls program gives them that opportunity to make friends.
Are they only in person, these meetings, or do you do Zoom?
Well, at this point, we're doing in person. It helps with the program that Roberta puts forth with folks.
Mhm.
I would love to have it in Zoom. We don't have that capacity through her at this point.
Because I would think in Teller County that could be problematic.
It is very problematic.
Post.
Right.
Okay, and then my last question.
Oh, please ask 100.
Okay, so since you're going to be developing the program through the Denver area agency, I know that in Park County, there's that little section of Park County that tends to relate more to the Denver area. Might you be able to serve? Those
They
people
have a
as well?
different, yes, Dr. Cog, Denver Regional Council of Governments. Oh, I said it right. Oh my God. Anyway, they have a different grant, a different program. And so they just completed earlier this month the training I did for them.
Mhm.
So hopefully we'll be able to work with them. We are in the process of looking, our psychologist is retiring. He volunteers some of his time. Our nurse practitioner is retiring. She volunteers her time. We're going to have to find someone probably for pay. We're working with Dr. Cog to find people together so that we can split the cost, which is not inexpensive, for next grant period.
I mean, we're a council of governments as well. And so I
Yes.
just don't know whether there's any availability of our council of governments being able to support their council of governments to kind of provide some kind of help in servicing those people in that upper Park County area.
Yeah, as you will know, Debbie, that's a little complicated. So
I do know.
But we are. I will say that we are good partners with Dr. Cog's staff and our counterparts. So, yeah. Well, the training just happened. Was it just earlier in the month? And so yeah, if there's we always look for opportunities to make sure our folks can get that coverage, just as we did with the foot care clinics, coming in to even just that little corridor. So yeah, a lot to figure out and a lot of possibilities there.
And I'll just add one more thing. I lived in the state of Washington for 11 years in Spokane, Washington, and the University of Washington was a great partner in all the different research and services that they helped area agencies and other agencies with.
They're fabulous there. I talk to them frequently. And as far as connecting with the other council of governments, I'm terrible at time frames, but Jody did have me come on when he was in a meeting, and I shared a little bit about the Pearls program and offered to do training for their various programs if they wanted to do the Pearls program. You have to have like a master training program in order to do that. And I took that class, and I want to spread this. We need this in Colorado.
You said that the programs are in a lot of different states. When did the whole Pearls program begin?
This is embarrassing to say. Approximately 15 years ago.
Okay.
And we now have had it here 3 years.
Okay.
I have a question for Dr. Dave. Have you found any of these clients that are dealing with the seasonal affective disorder? That's what I'm talking about myself. I deal with that. And our conversations today have helped me realize why the last few days I've been experiencing things that I normally would not, and it's sunlight issues. So I will go home and use my light bulb.
Yes. Seasonal affective disorder, probably most of you know, is when the light and the temperature changes this time of the year and it gets darker and colder. Many people begin to experience an increase in symptoms of depression, and that's referred to as seasonal affective disorder. So again, we're not diagnosing people here with different disorders. What I would say is that the interventions that Pearls offers to people would be also relevant and helpful to people experiencing seasonal affective disorder, because essentially the symptoms are the same. It's just that the darkness exacerbates them.
I hadn't considered the change in temperature.
Well, I think, again, when you think about us in more northern climates, the cold tends to keep us in. And if we're kept in, and I know we went through all this with COVID, we tend to be more isolated and lack the social interaction that can help reduce our sense of depression. So I think there's a constellation of things that contribute.
I was just curious if there were people. I come from another state, and in Oregon, it's very frequent.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, we have had several people that have been dealing with that disorder, and I would love to sit down with you.
Oh, we're going to sit down.
Okay.
I just wanted you to be alert to that possibility that some of the patients you're talking to, you just might have that in the back of your head. And
the PHQ, in a sense, we ask about the last 2 weeks, how they felt. And so when we do get people with a seasonal disorder, that's when we do get calls. We start getting calls from them around October. This is a real warm year in October. And so sometimes it's more like, I'm assuming I'll get more of that in November when the time changes, things like that.
Which is going to happen next week.
Next week.
Thank you so much. That was very informative. And it was wonderful to meet your new, what is her title going to be?
She's going to be my director. She's going to be our director if I can be brave and let go some of that. I've known Amanda for a while, and she's very good and very helpful, very supportive of our community. She has a lot of experience working in Teller and El Paso County. She used to work with APS. So she's also some of the similar things that I've done, like in hospice work, etc. So she's very knowledgeable.
Well, welcome. We look forward to having a working relationship with you.
Thank you.
Rosemary, are you available to give us an update on membership?
I am. Unfortunately, we have no updates. I don't know. I haven't heard back if anybody was interested in taking that new role on as the membership chair. But I have no updates other than if you're interested, please reach out to either me or Melissa.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt, Rosemary. I'm interested. I forgot to email you, so I'll touch base with you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
And we have a strategic review committee. Is Jen returned?
Yes, I am here. We met on the 12th. We had a really good group. Melissa gave us the blueprint that we've created from the 4-year strategic plan, and we've identified, I think it was 4 areas where we were able to group a lot of the focus areas for our work. I believe we've narrowed it down to administrative work, where we're going to put some focus into outreach for strategy and marketing, basically the education of services, and putting that into a bucket for ombudsman, the SHIP program, case management, caregiver and support services, reaching out to rural and diverse populations. Then second fell transportation, with an emphasis for rural areas with medical and non-medical, bringing some additional service providers to current senior center locations is kind of an idea of a project that we're going to talk to some people about. It's kind of an idea I've got. And then also looking at some urban transportation needs that we discussed in the meeting. Third was broadband, and we're going to look at doing some quarterly updates from the Commission on Aging and quarterly updates from the state plan. It seems that there's some movement going on in our state that is happening. And then the fourth area is volunteers, and looking at the coordination and utilization of our volunteers and working on some intergenerational programs. So that is what we have come up with at our last meeting. And again, anyone is welcome to join if you would like. And I don't know if Melissa's in there. I was a little late hopping on, but if Jody was there, if anybody else wants to hop on, I think Melody was in the room with us. Feel free to chime in if I missed anything.
Yeah, I'll open that up. Melissa's not here. Melissa's at a conference this morning. Melody or Debbie, any of you want to add anything? I know I got there about the last 15 minutes because I had a meeting that morning. So.
No, just that I mentioned that we are going to need a new program manager for that committee. And Jen, I don't know if you heard from anyone or if anybody else heard from anyone.
Oh, not yet.
Yeah, so just to clarify,
Okay.
Jen will be going off officially as a board member at the end of this year. She has agreed to stay on to help coach the subcommittee through the next period, but we do need to have a new strategic review subcommittee chairperson, and it's really just a matter of well, just like Maria and Rosemary are going to do, someone to sit down with Jen and understand a little bit more about what has transpired previously in the old 4-year plan, because that is the beauty of this. Jen was part of the last 4-year plan, and even before it was officially a strategic review subcommittee, and so we have some of that knowledge that's going to be leaving us, and we do need someone officially to chair that position. However, like I mentioned, Jen has agreed to stay on to help coach that new person. So if you are interested in that, it's a quarterly meeting. with a presentation after each quarter's meeting. So if you are interested, let Jen or Melissa or myself know. We'd love to have you. And like I said, perfect opportunity because you've got an awesome coach the first time around with Jen. So
I was also in attendance at the meeting, and what I was impressed with is, you know, we each have ideas, but when we're in a group, there's synergy where they expand on that idea. And that's what I saw happening was someone brought something up that was a good idea and everybody started contributing. And that just reminds me of how we interact with our community. And I think it's wonderful that people have such diverse backgrounds that some of the things that we wouldn't think of have been brought up because of their past associations. And I just truly, and I started here 9, 10 years ago. And I just want to say, wow, what a growth pattern that we've been in. And I'm excited about the coming year, and I'm excited about having the subcontractors come as they did in the past. But that was a very fine presentation, and I'm instituting something that I'm starting to, and Debbie is head associated with me. Debbie and I went to Silver Key for a tour last week. And I think maybe Cynthia should be next on the list because she's been asking me to come over for a long time. So we'll work out a date that works for you. And the I think that's what my notes said. I actually did it without looking. Okay. It is now the director's report.
thank you, Madam Chair. Well, it is a busy, busy, busy time of year. We had our regular quarterly provider meeting yesterday and went over a lot of information. We're at that time of year where we're already starting to think about our next contract period. And so our notice of funding availability for our next 2-year contract period will go out tomorrow. And then on November 9th will be the beginning of our RFP or request for proposal period. And we also do a training that all providers, new or current, have to attend. And so we're going to be redoing that a bit to Melody's point yesterday in the meeting. We're going to be jazzing that up a bit to be a little more relevant based on some questions that we have been receiving from our providers. And instead of just going through a cut and dry, this is how to access the system. There's going to be a lot more details to that. But we'll be doing an RFP. It's called an RFP conference, but it's only an hour or two. It's not too extended. The beauty of that too is that we record that. So if providers are not able to attend in person, they will be able to access that afterwards. But it is a part of the RFP requirements. And so that'll be coming up as well. The RFP, the applications for funding will be due to us by January 19th. So we've expanded that period a little bit to take into consideration the holidays. There's really, we can't really start it any earlier or hold it any later, but we did expand it within that general time period that we usually have to have it. So that'll give folks plenty of time to apply for the funding. As you well know, especially with our longtime regional advisory council members, we're usually talking about carryover right now. And not only do we know that we are receiving carryover, but the state was able to manage it through the system very swiftly this year, and it is already on hand. And I say on hand because we don't actually get those monies. As you know, all of our funding is a reimbursement process. However, normally what has happened in the last couple of weeks doesn't usually happen until about January. And so we're really excited that we can say it's available. So a call out for carryover requests did go out to providers last week. We've been receiving those. We try to make that as simple as possible. And something, as I mentioned to our providers yesterday, you know, there's so much that is so complicated about our funding and the tracking and the requests that we try to make these opportunities as simple as possible. It's a 3-question form, just telling us, you know, what the needs are. You don't have to sell us. You're already a provider. We don't need a book. Just answer these 3 questions. And so we have started receiving those. The big challenge is that traditionally Region 4, which is our 3 counties, has had a considerably large carryover amount that has come to us in the last few years, especially during carryover, but even before, especially during the pandemic, because we had the emergency funds that had to be used first. Even before the pandemic, there was usually a considerable amount in carryover that came back to Region 4. And those are effectively unspent federal dollars that come back into our region. This year our providers have done a fantastic job of spending the funds, meeting the needs of folks around the region. And so this year's or this season's carryover funding is about a quarter, if not even a fifth, of what our last carryover amount was. So ballpark, because I don't keep those numbers directly in front of me. Last year's carryover conversation was over $800,000. We received a little bit more than $1 million in requests. This year, right now, is a little over $159,000. So a considerable change. Now, as you might imagine, I've had some interesting conversations with providers recently, and in the recent past, I've asked our providers, even at the last quarterly meeting, not yesterday, but a previous meeting, to please not use carryover as part of their budgeting process, because our goal is to reduce the amount of carryover that we've been receiving, because the state can and will likely be instituting a cap. That's been in conversation for a long time. During the pandemic, that was set aside. And in this year, it almost was instituted, but because there's still so much that's still being sorted out post-pandemic funding, that the state did set that cap aside again. We do expect that cap to be initiated next funding cycle. So for us, it's very positive that we have a low carryover amount. It's also very positive because it shows both our state and federal funders that Region 4 is maximizing the funding that's coming into the region. So it's a little bit of a pinch point because folks do expect a lot of carryover in the historical past, but it also is telling the story that we need to make sure is being told up the ladder, that Region 4 needs the funding, needs more funding, and we'll be able to show that. So that's where we are with carryover right now. In that process, I've been receiving those applications or those service needs. So that's been really good to see. The other challenge is that during the pandemic with the public health emergency, the funding parts were dismissed, and we could spend those funds however we needed to. However, now that the public health emergency was rescinded back in May, we do have to spend those by part. So that does create another level of complexity to distributing the carryover funds. But I believe that we'll be able to do that just fine because we already have providers, and we have one provider in particular who has met the needs of her client base and is almost out of funds. And so it's a real catch-22 to realize, okay, we have providers meeting the needs of the community, but have support them. So a lot still being worked on there. We also talked about our American Rescue Plan Act. Those are the ARPA dollars that you all, as TRS members, helped us to distribute. Those were allocated at the beginning of July. We've already seen several of the 10 contractors who received those funds begin to spend those funds. And so we don't have any concerns right now that spending those funds will be an issue. However, they also are completing a quarterly update form for us, and so we will have more to share on that at our next RAC meeting because their deadline is the same as the carryover deadline, which is October 31st. So more to come on that, but we have started to receive the reimbursement requests for those ARPA funds. We did a little bit of training around wait lists yesterday, talked about some procedural areas around mid-year CPU adjustments and that kind of thing. And the other thing, we had a really good discussion. Melissa had put together, and when you signed in, you may have seen this services funded by Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging, just a one-page highlighted form. Jared, are you able to throw that up on screen for those that are online? We put this together for providers primarily as an internal document to remind providers of who else is providing services. And so for you as RAC members and providers who are with us, I would encourage you to take this along because we want to make sure that there is strong collaboration going on even between our providers. Finding opportunities to refer clients to one another is just yet another way to make sure that your clients, your patients, your participants are accessing as many services as possible. And so we put this together. There were some suggestions. Cynthia had a great suggestion about not just the name, but kind of a half-page description of the providers and the services that they offer. And so thank you, Jared. And so we're taking that into consideration. We've got some ideas. I was scribbling notes yesterday during your request, and so we'll figure that out. We also do share out a spreadsheet at the beginning of the contract period with all providers so that they have emails and phones and names of people in very specific areas of the provider services. And so we're looking at ways to kind of add to that because that is far more in depth than you could put on a one-page flyer, and it may be more in depth than what we can do with some of the recommendations and requests that came to us yesterday. So we'll find a good middle road there that will work for everyone. But our goal ultimately with this is to make sure that you as providers, you as RAC members, are fully aware of the level of services that we are offering to the community, to the region, with these Older Americans Act and Older Coloradans Act dollars. For folks who are online, RAC members who are online, we'll make sure you get a copy of this in your email. Okay, so yeah, so this is just a really great piece to review. So the last piece I have is really just staff is busy as usual with we have open enrollment, as you know, going on right now. So our SHIP counselors are quite busy with their appointments as well as their regular work that they do at this time of year. Staff are busy with end of the year requirements as we close are coming to the close of our calendar year, which PPACG does operate under a calendar year. And so just a lot of great things going on. And just wanted to give you an update there. If there are no questions, I'm happy to take any questions, but if no questions, I will hand that back to Madam Chair.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about my tour out at Silver Key. And Debbie and I it was about an hour and a half, wasn't it? And they took us through their very large facility. And it was, from my perspective, it was really nice to see that people had offices and that they had their own space to do things, that things are spread out enough that you don't have to have everybody in a room that somebody's always breathing on you. But and we had dinner or lunch, I guess we should say, and it was good. And they gave us a list of where the meal sites are located, and I discovered there's one about 3 miles from my house, so I may take advantage of that. But I just am very excited to continue visiting so that I know each of the contractors on first, personally. And I learned a lot today because I did not know if you had all of these wonderful opportunities to help people heal themselves. And I thank you for being here today. Has anybody got any comments?
Madam Chair, I do want to highlight one of our providers is Community Dental Health will be holding their open house at their new building on Thursday, November 9th from 4:30 to 8. And 3650 Rebecca Lane is about 1 block west of North Academy, across from the old Penrose Community Hospital. I believe that's Peak Vista property now, but that kind of gives you a ballpark. Just south of Austin Bluffs and Academy is where that building is. So you can see that's a lovely building. So wanted to make sure that you all are aware of that. Please, if you're able to attend, I know Michelle would love to see you all out there and give us a tour. They're going to do a ribbon cutting. And so if anybody has access to giant gold scissors, she was asking about that yesterday. And then the bottom of the page there, for those of you who did not know, Community Dental Health and Michelle were awarded the Jefferson Award, which is a community award, and that is a national award. She had to travel, I believe, either to New York or DC to receive that, and her organization was highlighted for that. So very, very exciting news and a lot going on for community dental health. Cynthia, did you have a
just further, Michelle sent out, I received an email this morning. She had attended the provider meeting yesterday. She liked the idea of a half-page thing. She's going to put together a PowerPoint of all the providers and has asked each of us, at least to give her some information to put on that PowerPoint. So there'll also be a PowerPoint.
And that PowerPoint will actually be it'll be a large monitor in their office. And it'll cycle through all the providers, contact information, highlight information, service information, and contact information. And so that was really, that's the kind of collaboration. Nobody asked her to do that. It didn't come from me, but I know that's the way Michelle thinks. But that's the kind of collaboration I love to see amongst our providers, to figure out how to best inform the community of all the wonderful resources that are out there. So our providers received, they heard that, those who were in the meeting yesterday, they heard that invitation. And to Cynthia's point, she did send an invitation out by email as well, asking folks to create a slide. She's going to have a slide deck running on her monitor for folks when they come in. The other side of that too is that she has space, a kind of a community room space. So if you were ever doing an event, a class, something like that, I'm sure we'll get to see that come November 9th. I know that's something that she'd been talking about doing for quite some time, is making sure that there was space available to the community, senior service providers, and that kind of thing, to bring more community into the building and have those collaborative efforts. So if you are a provider, someone in the community who's continually looking for meeting space, you now have an option with community dental there at their new building. So be sure to connect with Michelle Vaca on that, and hope to see you at her open house. Any other board members have updates? B.
I should have mentioned this last month, but I forgot. I attended the groundbreaking for Silver Keys Affordable Apartments and was really excited to see that project get off the ground. And this was the most unusual groundbreaking. You know how usually you just have somebody with a shovel, and they had dirt movers, big equipment was moving lots and lots of dirt while we were at the groundbreaking. But once again, it's just putting in place some of affordable housing for seniors and veterans. It was just exciting to see that. We heard about it many, many months ago, and to see it get off the ground. Yes, there's the picture of the groundbreaking. I was just excited to see it. Laura was there as well. So I guess the two of us represented AAA at that event. Well, when I and Debbie were there, they've made quite a bit of progress since then. I got foundations in, and it looked like they had some of the first floor started to attach the
Wonderful
siding.
I think maybe just the base.
Okay.
Just the base.
Well, anyway, it's moving along.
Yeah.
And it was, as you said, wonderful to see it actually taking place. Right. Because it's been in paper for several years, and to know they got the funding and that they were able to go forward.
And it's right next to their main location, which I think will be a real plus as well.
Our guide for the day was Jamie Holligan, and she said she's available to give discussions on what they provide to people in the community. Like I have an HOA where we were going to try to set up something for seniors, and evidently there's like 40 seniors where I live. I didn't know, and she said she'd come out and give a 30-minute discussion. And I like this idea of having a professional type program to show what you're talking about, Melissa, is creating, because that really does make it a lot easier to make sure everybody is heard. And I see, Deb, you wanted to say something? Okay, well, there was something else. I can't remember what it was now. the dental office. Now I've been there several times already, and the downstairs, they've moved everything upstairs now. And the downstairs has nice size rooms in it. And there's one that's very long. And I can see where she'd like to use that as a community room if she doesn't have someone to rent. But I went over to tell her how proud I was of her that she'd won this award. And so she had him take a picture, and I said, I want to take a picture of you. She says, no, she made me get in it. And, but it was started out here with, is it KO? Anyway, the television station here is the one that was supporting her. And so she has 3 medals. And one is bronze, which is the local. And then she won the state one, which is silver. And they are on a lanyard. And then the gold one, which she received at a very prestigious ceremony in New York City. And I was just really excited. And I said, can I go down and look at that? No, you cannot. November 7th, she would not even let me go look at the upstairs. So it's exciting to see everything come to, thank you, that's the word I wanted, fruition. Anyway, thank you for being here today, and the meeting is now adjourned.
Before we're fully adjourned, and before the recording ends, I do want to remind folks that because our next meeting would normally be on Thanksgiving Day, we do change that over to December 7th. December 7th, which, yes, because if you show up, we won't be here. December 7th will actually be a blend of our November and December meetings. There will not be a subsequent December meeting. Okay. So December 7th and then our regular date in January.
Thank you for.
Will our next executive committee meeting be in January and not in December, right? Because I think that.
I don't have that schedule in front of me, but we'll certainly double check.
Yeah, because the first Wednesday would be very close to the meeting.
Yeah, we do adjust some of those subsequent meetings because of the flow. And then if I may, if you are a TRS member, Technical Review Subcommittee, I see B, Marilyn, Debbie, and Laura. If you are able to stay on, Laura, if you're still on and are able to stay online for just a few minutes, and the other 3 of you stick around for a couple minutes, we'll talk about the TRS process for carryover. And then Jared, I saw your hand wave.
Well, Maria Cordova has her hand raised.
Maria, yes, please.
Hi, I just wanted to let everyone know that the Arts and Resiliency Gathering is happening at the Lyda Hill Institute for Human Resilience over at UCCS. And the Independent Center is going to be showcasing artists with disabilities. And then there are going to be a bunch of events happening today through Saturday. So, anyone who wants to get out there and see some art and resiliency events, that's the place to be.
Wonderful. Thank you, Maria.
I think that's it. And I'm very glad that he remembered to give us the date, because I was excited about what's happening. And anyway.
Wonderful.